version. You know, back in 2000 here in Xenia, a lot of you were with me when Seth and I learned that I have some physical issues that were going to impede our ability to easily have a child. And a lot of you grieved with me and cried with me and prayed with me through that whole thing. And to come back here to celebrate Essie, it just is really coming full circle. And it's just a really beautiful story. And I'm probably not going to make it through. I'm already crying. I haven't even told you anything. Okay, so, you know, Seth and I always knew once we got the news about my physical condition that adoption would be for us. And it took a while to reconcile that, and then the longer that I just dwelled on it and meditated and prayed about it, the more that I realized that adoption isn't a second choice for us. This was the way that God always wanted us to make our family. And that the situation that we found ourselves in, although it caused us to grieve at first, was really the pathway to the family that we were always supposed to have. And so, you know, we're not adopting because we can't have children. That was more of an impetus on this journey that Seth and I have been on. And we always assumed it would be international adoption. I'm not sure why, that just was kind of the assumption. And back in March, we decided to go to this informational meeting because we knew that, you know, it's so tied to the state that you live in, all the adoption proceedings. And so we're in Nebraska right now. I'm finishing up my PhD. We're not going to be there for much longer, like maybe another year and a half. And then we're going to leave the state and get a job wherever, but it's not going to be in Nebraska. So, you know, we couldn't do anything yet, but we're like, let's just find out what we need to know, and then we'll go from there. And so we went to this informational meeting. It was called the Power Hour at Lutheran Family Services, and she started talking about domestic adoption. I'm like, yeah, get through this. I just want to hear about the international stuff. But I couldn't be rude. And so then after we heard about the domestic stuff, she talked about the international, and Seth and I went out to the parking lot, and he said, you know, we could do this now. And I'm like, no, this is for later. We were just getting information. He's like, but no, we could really do this. And I was, you're crazy. What are you talking about? And so we just thought about it more and more, and it just felt right, and it felt like the right time to move forward. So we thought, if we don't take the first steps, then, you know, God can't have good things happen in our lives if we just sit around. So let's just move forward, and if it's supposed to happen, it's going to happen. So we spent the next, you know, couple weeks looking at different agencies and chose one in Omaha that does a minority adoption program, because there's a disparity of families that are willing to adopt African American children, and there's a lot of African American children across the nation that need homes. And so our network, our agency networks with other states. And so we kind of thought we were going to be adopting a little African American child from Florida. And that's what I had in my mind. I thought it was a boy named Sam from Florida. And we were preparing and learning about all the sorts of things to have a multiracial family. And we did our home study, finished it this summer, and the last Friday in September, we finally had our profile meeting where we finished everything, and now it's time to move forward. And you create your profile where it's representing your family and like what you're into, and you know, this is what birth moms look at to decide whether or not to place their baby in your family. And so at this profile meeting, we started talking about the finances of adoption and all that goes into it. And we learned at that meeting that the fees were raised a very significant amount from the time that we started. And we learned that we had to come up with a lot more money, and there was no more money. We had come up with all the money that there was, and it was really, I thought it was over that Friday night, the last Friday in September. And you know, Seth and I were just, we had this nice fun date planned that night, and we didn't even go. We just, you know, sat on the couch and, you know, well, what are we going to do? I mean, it just seemed like this was the right time. And it was a rough weekend. You know, we just kind of got through it. And on Sunday, we went to church, and the pastor was talking about, the only thing I remember from the sermon was, be who you are, want what you have, do what you can. And he just kept saying that over and over and over again. And all you have is what you can do. And so I was thinking, we did everything. There's nothing more I can do. And so I just have to kind of accept where I am with it. And so it was 4 o'clock on Sunday. I was folding laundry, and it just all kind of hit me. And I just prayed, you know, God, if you want this to happen, you're going to have to make it happen, because we've done everything, and I don't know what else to do, and it seems like this is the time that you wanted this to happen, and I just don't know where to go from now. So if you want this to happen, just make it happen. and I really hope that you want to make it happen, because I really want this to happen. And so I felt better. And then 11 o'clock at night, we get an email with somebody who, this person that knew a person that knew the Colliners, my in-laws, Bob and Barb, and there was this baby that needed a home, and you know, it seemed like kind of a long shot, but let's just see how this could work out. And Seth and I read it the first time, and we were like, what is this email? And then we read it again, and we were like, oh, okay. And then we read it again, and we were like, oh my word, this could really happen. And we spent all Monday on the phone, and Julie actually is the one that wrote the email. This is Essie's grandmother, Julie, and she wrote just asking us if we would be willing to take care of this baby that needed a home. And the more that we thought about it and prayed about it, the more we realized that we think that this is the right timing. And you know, the financial stuff was no longer an issue with the way that it worked out now, because the agency fees were no longer involved. And so we went from hopeless, thinking this isn't going to happen, to, you know, here's a really great situation. And so we drove out and we met everybody, and it just seemed like it all clicked, and we were all on the same page, and we were all, you know, all in support of making this baby's life as good as it could be. And so we said, all right, well, we'll see you next time. When it's go time, we'll see you in the hospital. And the due date was the 23rd, and Essie came on November 8th.
23rd of December.
Oh, yeah, 23rd of December, and she came on the 8th, 6.5 weeks early. And so we got a call from Julie at 8:30 in the morning, and I'm still in bed, and Seth's on his way out the door for an all-day-long ultimate frisbee tournament. He's going to be gone for like the whole day. And you know, she calls and she says she's in labor, and I must have heard that wrong. And so we just threw everything in a suitcase. We forgot a lot of stuff. And so the first week we were here, our neighbors had a key, and they kept, like, I forgot my contacts, and they sent them, and you know, we just hit the road. And we didn't know anything for a long time, because you know, it all happened so fast, and she was so little, and all we knew was she was 4 pounds and 13 ounces, and you know, Julie was in the hospital waiting to hear the news, and we were waiting to hear from Julie, and we didn't hear for like 5 hours, and that was a really scary 5 hours, because you know, so much can go wrong when you're born so early. But she missed a lot. She never needed a respirator, and she's doing really well, and she's small, but she's putting on weight like crazy. She was born 4 pounds 13 ounces, and now she's 5 pounds 15 ounces, and she's probably going to break 6 before we bring her home. And we think we're going to be able to bring her